I will always challenge their ideas. But recently, I have gotten a pending removal over here because I criticized the auction professor. Hey, what's going on, loungers? Welcome back to the Pegasus-Lounge. If you're new here, my name is Mason T, and today I just wanted to speak to you guys directly, right? And we're going to talk about what's going on with this channel, how we started, how we got here, a little bit of a background story for all of the new viewers and subscribers, as well as what's to come in this channel, right? And what's currently been happening. So let's just start with even how we begin and why it's even called the Pegasus-Lounge, right? So I don't know if some of you have already figured it out, but it's short for Pegasus Business Lounge because this is a business channel. So originally I was just going to start a regular channel, right? Just to do a business channel. I had this channel, you know, for a long time actually, and I restarted it in 2018. And my first video to come back and just talk about business was about 6 months ago, actually. So we're only, 60-ish videos in. And what is the starting point for most people in e-commerce? I would say eBay, because that's where I started as well. Now, granted, Amazon came before eBay, 94, then 95 eBay, but Amazon didn't start welcoming third-party sellers until 2000, and it didn't take over, surpass what eBay's sales is until much later on, right? So I started around like 2003, so I'm kind of sort of old school, right? I did eBay back then where you could accept checks and stuff like that. And it was just hell. It was just absolutely awful, right? Because you had to create accounts receivable folders and stuff like that to take people's payments, wait for it to clear, then ship it out. So it was quite a process, all right, until finally the combination of PayPal plus require immediate payment came along, and then the rest is history. Okay, so when I first started this channel, I wanted to see what other people were talking about when it comes to the conversation on YouTube in regards to eBay, because eBay is the beginner stomping ground. So I figured, why not? I'll just start from here. It's one of the platforms that I've been on for the longest. It's something that I'm very, very deeply knowledgeable about, even though a lot of people like to tell me that I know nothing. Okay, so the thing is this, right? I wanted to put my message out there of what I saw. And I saw that 99.9% of the conversation is all about reselling, all right? And I was kind of shocked at this. I was kind of floored by it, to be honest, right? Because people who are like myself are not represented in this space at all. People who do anywhere between wholesale distribution, homemade goods and stuff like that, white labeling, private labeling, all sorts of other kinds of e-commerce stuff, right? So sure, you have a couple of videos about affiliate marketing, but that really doesn't have anything to do with eBay. And then you also have drop shipping, right? And the problem with drop shipping is that it's not exactly policy compliant sometimes, right? You're definitely not supposed to drop ship from one marketplace to another marketplace, even though programs like AutoDS help you get away with it. It's just not a good thing, right? So I don't really like to talk about that because I don't promote that. So I don't want to talk about something that I don't promote anyways, right? Okay, so essentially, I want to take you guys back about 6 months ago, maybe more than that, 7 months ago, I guess, right? And I had this video, right? And this video, we actually gained, you can see over here about close to 600 subscribers since I created this video. This was actually my first video, guys, talking about, it was just called Learn eBay the Right Way. I had a different perspective at the time, okay? I watched what eBay is as a private custom labeler. And I was just like, why do you guys do eBay this way? Why this way though? Because in my opinion, okay, it's just a very slow way of doing business. Over these couple of months, I've actually lightened up a lot about my opinion on reselling. Now I recognize that reselling is just a way to start off. Everybody has to begin from somewhere. So, I'm very empathetic toward that. I actually, I understand. But to go on for years and years and years and years doing reselling, especially in the way that's being presented on YouTube right now, is very, very difficult. And the reason is because it gets more and more chaotic as you try to scale reselling by volume, right? You started off with, 100 items in your store. Now you have 300 items, 1,000 items. Some of you guys have 5,000 items. And the work just gets crazier and crazier, right? Nobody is going to refute the idea that doing eBay reselling is easy or it's not labor intensive. So at some point you should be hiring people and stuff like that. But I haven't really seen too many operations that is strictly on one-off reselling, right? Even if you could do that, it's still extremely difficult and it's very rare for that to happen. It's not as common as, say, a restaurant, a sandwich shop, like all the other businesses that you could possibly think of that has employees involved, right? So I wanted to, just show you guys a lot of the comments that I got starting from this particular video, right? So I'm gonna, blow up something over here, and I want to read some of the comments that we have gotten, and then we're just gonna go through this real quick, okay? So one comment leaves that I would love to be able to have a consistent supply of X products, but some of us are not in a place to be able to do that. Some of us don't have any other option but to sell little bits and scraps we can find here and there. See, here's the thing, right? I get a lot of these different comments, and I want to share with you guys that this is what's happening out there, especially for all the naysayers of my channel, right? This is what people are going through. And the thing about this is that rather than to be more understanding and show some empathy, the reseller community is kind of mean in their comments. They just say, "Oh, they couldn't hack it. They're sourcing junk." It's just a lot of mean comments coming from that direction instead of really trying to hear what people's problems are, right? Because as a private labeler, custom labeler, I see this setup of eBay reselling very, very inefficient from a mile away. I wouldn't be able to immediately articulate it to you 7 months ago, but I've been following it more and more. And the more I talk about it, the more I teach it, the better, I can start iterating exactly what the problems are, right? Initially, if you had told me, exactly what reselling is, I would be like, what do you do? And how do you get your stuff? And how are you listing it? And you're selling them one by one. I would just be like, wow, that's a very slow way of doing business, though. And you would say like, yeah, well, it's working for me and I'm doing X amount and, I'm doing 100,000 or 200,000 or something like that. I would nod my head and I'll be like, I see. Okay. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm saying that I still see a lot of inefficiencies in it, right? It sounds very tedious. It sounds very exhausting. And when I say stuff like that, nobody refutes that. Everybody's like, it is very tedious. It is very exhausting, right? So the next comment over here says that I'm a new sub. You are really talking to me. You know how resellers talk about a death pile. Well, I have a junk trash pile. I'm in if you show me a better way. I'll go through it and throw away my trash. My husband and I bought a 2-story house for my junk to go upstairs. It's going 3 years. That junk is still upstairs. Thrift store is pitiful for me. I need, as soon as possible, help. Thank you for all you do. Love it. Awesome. This one is one of my favorite comments, right? Because this one is really experiencing the gaslight of what's going on YouTube, okay? So he says, Mental Matrix says, wow, someone has some common sense. Now, I don't like to just default to people having common sense or whatever, because it's very dismissive. When you think of it the other way around, you just be like, see, I have common sense, and then you don't. No, I don't like to do that. We put out our ideas and they're open for criticism, right? So if you resonate with the message, then welcome aboard. So he says, so happy someone said this. It's so ridiculous that so many people are doing this eBay thing wrong. Now, I know that's going to get under a lot of people's skin when you just say, hey, you're doing this wrong. You know what I mean? But listen to what he says. I am completely new to selling, and I saw so many professional sellers giving bad advice about thrifting and garage sales and flipping, and this never made any sense to me. But so many people were saying this that I thought my thinking was wrong. I almost copied what these guys were doing, despite the fact that I thought it was madness. Thank you for restoring common sense. It's obvious that it makes more sense to research the right items, maybe 50 items, that means find what you're going to sell, the wholesaler, yada, yada, yada. He goes on from there, right? This is what I mean. There's a lot of people who feel like how he does. You almost feel gaslit by what the current conversation is, right? You're seeing it and you're just like, this seems very inefficient. This seems like a lot of work for not as good of profits as it should be. And then people just, tell you to be quiet and you don't know what you're talking about. And if you source better stuff, and you know what I mean? It's very dismissive. It's very shut down of like other people's feelings. And this is why my channel exists. I don't come from a place of just, looking down on people and just say, oh, see, this is common sense. You don't have common sense. That's not cool. That's not my attitude whatsoever. Okay. The idea is that I've done something more complex than where you guys have been. So if you ever thought of, those videos where people say, if I had to do this all over again, like if I'm an ice skater and if I had to go back and do it all over again, like all the mistakes that I went through, et cetera, like that, right? This is kind of what this whole channel is about, right? I'm somebody who has done like something very complex and very advanced. And now I've decided to do a business channel, and let me come back to the beginning so that I don't go over anybody's heads and then, start the channel with exactly where the stomping ground begins and stuff like that. It's just that I hadn't accounted for this kind of narrative, this kind of story that was going to happen. This I fell into. You see what I'm saying? So let's see. Rondre Richardson. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Okay, I'm an eBay seller, and I currently have the flu. I still have to try to work while sick. Not to mention, I am burnt out from the constant need to find items to sell. How many of you guys can relate to that? When I don't post items daily, my sales drop drastically. My garage and spare room is full of stuff, and I know it is time for a change. How many of you guys resonate with specifically what she said and how she feels, right? So rather than attack her and just say, she doesn't know what she's doing, you know what I mean? That's super mean to do that. Look, there's way more. Let's get through this quickly. I used to do the thrift garage sale, clearance aisle flipping, a lot of one-offs. There were a lot of stores closing in my area, and I thought I found the mother lode and I bought some gems. But like you say, I ended up with large death piles and would just end up giving a lot away or as gifts. When I first started this, right, I thought death piles meant unsold stuff. Now I'm starting to understand that death piles just means like, things that people source and they just haven't gotten to yet, right? And because the nature of the business itself, you pretty much need to source more than you sell in order to maintain the sales, because nobody sources and sells at 100% efficiency. But even if you did source and sell at 100% efficiency, you still have to physically go out and then bring it home and do everything. And at some point, right, going out, bringing it home, cleaning it up, listing it, packing and shipping and stuff, there's so much physical labor involved, right, that at some point doing it at volume, you will hit your physical cap on this, right? And then the problem is that, is eBay reselling a viable business structure where you can hire help? Of course, every single business out there, once it gets very busy, you want to hire help. But can you hire help as an eBay reseller? And for the most part, I kind of sort of argue no. And the reason is because the business structure itself is too simplistic. So anybody who's working for you, as long as they help you with a little this, a little that, they pretty much learn your business. And when they learn your business, they'll just go off and do it on their own, because whatever you're paying them has to be less than what they earn for you in order for them to justify their salary. So therefore, if they just go off on their own and they just have to do a little bit better or equal to what they earn for you, now they just get to keep it for themselves. So basically what I'm saying is that eBay reselling is a breeding ground for training employees to go off on their own. Do you guys resonate with that message? Do you see what I'm trying to say? I know there's going to be some naysayers like, Peg doesn't know what he's talking about. But seriously, every other business out there, okay, when you think about the positions, right? Like I've used this before, like whether it's a restaurant or a hotel, you have the wait staff, you have the the bus boy for a hotel, you have the the bellboy, right? You have the concierge, the maid service and stuff like that. All of these are just components of the business, right? And and no business can survive without all of these components. While when you're doing the whole eBay reselling, you are a one-man army, right? And therefore, if when you train somebody else to help you out, unless you isolate what they do, meaning that I hired you, but all you do is packing and shipping, right? You're not really too familiar of what the products are. You have no idea how to list stuff. You don't even know how I'm creating these shipping labels and where it's like so you got to set up something so that the rest of the operation is masked from the. So there's a reason to say, okay, I need my boss because my boss provides me with work, and if I don't have them, like I don't have this job, and that's that, right? But at any time, when it enters the employee's mind that, hey, I could be doing exactly what my boss is doing, if not better, then why not? So Robin over here says, oh my gosh, you don't know how bad I needed this advice right at this very moment. I've been sourcing for 2 years just to only have a couple dozen eBay sales. I know you guys are going to make fun of him for that, but guys, try to refrain, okay? Be nice. The rest is basically a hoard or a death pile that hasn't been listed, which is 99.9% of everything I have bought. I still work full time, so basically I have been waiting for retirement to be able to do this full time. About an hour ago, I texted someone about how much it would cost to build a 1,000 square foot metal building with a slab and foam so I could store all my stuff and get organized and then be able to work out of there. When the time comes, after watching this video, I thought how bizarre to think spending $20,000 would help me sell thrifted items that other people already donated. I need help desperately. Please help me. If you can help me get out of this mess, thank you in advance. Love the straightforward video. Okay, so this is, more and more comments of exactly why my channel even exists, right? Great video. I started selling my house full of stuff and thrift store garage sales. I watch those videos and they don't look sustainable and have a life. Excited about your mastery series. Thanks, right? So one of the biggest mistakes that I did, right, is that I kind of wanted to try teaching people private labeling immediately, right? I try to teach people how to do the research and then how to go into the innovation, how to source products and stuff like that. And you know what? My bad. It was way too advanced right away, right? And so therefore, I want to talk a little bit about this channel and where is it going and stuff. So like I said, when I create stuff, it doesn't matter if we're doing, a new conversation or I'm trying to create a new product or something, I want to be very mindful of what I'm doing. So for you guys, right, what I've considered is that I'm going to try my best to do anywhere between 2 to 3 videos a week. And on Sundays, for now at least, okay, we're going to be doing shop classes. All right. So every single Sunday, we'll do a big shop class, right? That I'm going to talk about, the whole business structures and stuff like that. And then it will be more video heavy, right? Because if we do this on Sundays, Sundays are the days where like you guys have time to sit and focus, right? And pretty much reset. And on Wednesdays, we'll do something a little bit more talking about concepts and ideas and stuff, because that way, as you're packing and working or whatnot, on Wednesdays, you could have me playing in the background and you don't really need to focus, on my face or whatever the screen is. You could just listen to, what I have to say on Wednesday, right? And then sometimes on Friday, we'll do a more, wind down fun type of video, might be a little bit more business related still, where, I'm going to show you some cool items and stuff, what I think was currently a really great innovation, just to get the juices flowing all the time, right? Okay, so the next comment says, great points. I do about 300K gross at 100K profit. That sounds about right. I think that pretty much in the reselling, eBay and stuff, your costs, your taxes, like everything afterwards, most people make somewhere around a third in margins. I list 20 and sell 20 a day. Okay. It's a lot of work. And I do think I could scale with some employees. Right. This is what I'm saying. You want to scale and you want to have employees. But as I explained before, this is going to be very, very difficult if the nature of your business trains people to pretty much go off on their own. But I do see your points and want in the future a replenishable model, right? Because when you have a replenishable model, you remove a lot of the touch points of your business so that you could walk away from your business and do more things while your business is still generating money, right? And the more touch points that you remove from your business so that you don't have to be as involved in it anymore without losing any of the output, then that is what streamlining actually is, right? It's not about this marathon or training of like how to just simply do things faster, but things are simply faster because you don't have to do as many things. This one, Mr. Mike, this one I think was a little crazy, right? Great points I do about, no. Oh, this one, he said, I asked them, right? Do you go out to source every single day? Because this is when I was new to understanding what, eBay reselling was about specifically, right? I have this question in the back of my mind. What if someone lived in a town where quite a few people were also doing this? Is it like going to an episode of Storage Wars? Wherever you go, you got the same competitors, doing yup, you know what I mean? And all the shops and the yard sales that you went to, they're buying up all your prospects. Then I imagine it would eat into your cost because it forces you to go to the next town over. So more travel, more gas, more time spent. I hope, I truly hope this doesn't actually happen, right? And he says, I source 3 days a week, roughly 15 hours total a week. So that's just dedicated to sourcing, right? I can see a small town being an issue. Traveling far must be a hunt. I live in Los Angeles and there is so much competition. So, it's like he's saying that I could see this happening in a small town so that you have to travel far, but he's in, Los Angeles. I used to be in Los Angeles, and he's like, there's so much competition. So, you're in a big city and then there's a lot of competition, and then you're in a small town and there's not enough to go around. Like, what's the difference, right? But I still find profitable items even with multiple resellers in the same thrift. Okay. This one was an interaction that I thought was kind of interesting. You're correct. I've been doing the thrifting sourcing method for 20 years. I have 59,000 listings. That's not a good thing. That's 5,900 items that haven't sold. Some are 4 years old, maybe more. That's a ton of time and effort and constant struggle. Thanks, I need to change. So this is what I mean, right? Even if you have like a lot of listings, some people say I got like 6,000 listings, I got like 50,000 listings, whatever. The problem is that one-off items sourced over time loses its potency, doesn't it? Because whatever you source, whatever your haul is that you brought in, 20 units, 100 units or something like that, there's going to be a portion that's going to sell immediately. There you go, high STR. A portion that needs a little more time, medium STR, and a portion that takes a long time, if not ever sells. And that's your low STR to dud items, right? So John Doe 23 says, realistic take, folks. His point is bad items will never sell. Not sure what your batting average is, but I would argue 25% is typical of most resellers' dead stock, unless you can seriously bundle or mystery box. And you guys who follow this channel, I mean, I already did an episode specifically on the mystery boxes, and I've got, a lot of comments where, many of you just felt completely appalled, right? So set some time aside each week to add up for tax purposes your loss, and then donate the stuff back where it came from. End of the day, eBay algo will reward you with better STR metrics on the lesser load. I don't really know what that means because I'm not really a reseller, but I'm not trying to be either. That doesn't mean that if I had to come back and teach you guys specifically reselling, which I don't advocate for, that I wouldn't be able to put it in a much better business structure as an advanced seller. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to do like the shop classes on the Sundays, right? So this Sunday, it will be specifically about how to pivot to level 2, right? Which is the whole self-made goods, homemade goods for people who just want to create something at home and then start selling. And that way you have full creative control over your product. You have better control over your margins and stuff like that. And you create and you work as much as you want to. Now, we'll go into level 3 about wholesale distribution, level 4, white labeling. White labeling is going to be super fun, super duper fun. I promise you guys. And then number 5 will be what I do, which is the most complex of stuff, right? Then I'm going to ask you guys if you would like me to do a special episode basically called, if I had to teach you how to do reselling, this is what we would do. Okay. And then I'll create a a business a framework for specifically reselling, but it will be as efficient as possible. And the purpose of that video is to teach you guys how to fix your reselling and the strategy and the way to think about it, but not to stay there. If I show you guys how to do reselling, it's supposed to be a launch pad. It's supposed to be a springboard. After you do reselling the way I teach you, don't stay there. Use it to make money and then save up money. Don't stay there. Okay. I want you guys to be real entrepreneurs, to level up and evolve even further, because there's so many more things to do. Okay. So here we go. Carrie Penna says, yes, I'm so tired of running around looking for the bolo. I'm sitting on so much inventory that I shouldn't have purchased. I look like a hoarder and am so buried and overwhelmed. I would love your help. Thank you for the video, right? And this guy, ooh, it's just a vulture, right? It says, where you live at? I offer near nothing for death piles, but you get rid of it. So, if you guys follow Becky Park, right? Becky Park has quite a few videos where she specifically asks her viewers, like what do you think of my piles? Am I a hoarder? Am I a hoarder? You know what I mean? I know she says it like half-heartedly, jokingly, or whatever, but a lot of jokes are, semi based off of truth, right? So when you look at it, it's like, I hope they sell. I hope you get around to it and stuff. But if you had to ask, are you a hoarder? A lot of people feel that they are, and that's why I share these comments with you guys. So this one says, my son cut his teeth going to auctions. I don't know what that means. Garage sales and flipping on eBay. Once I showed him his actual costs, his time, finding product, listing, communicating, and packing, and then ad shipping costs, eBay fees in a spreadsheet, he was shocked at how little net profit he was really making. What a great business experience for him, though. Okay, so yeah, I'm all for that. For young people to start off on this first, right? For an excellent, business experience, sure. That it's I totally agree with that messaging, but it's just the shock value, right? That comes back. Now, this one is probably how many of you feel, right? Because this is specifically, I resonate with this message because this is what I'm going through. Okay. I had the reseller community chase me with pitchforks last year. That's exactly how I feel. Okay. Every single time I make my criticism, so far, I've not gotten anybody push back with specifically why I'm wrong or really take apart what I said. I have people who claim they could, but they never actually get around to it. And every single time I say like, well, the way you're reselling and then going on and sourcing or whatever, it looks exhausting. And then they just talk about something else. They're like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, but it's very hard, right? And then they're like, yeah, it was hard, but so the conversation gets weird, the pushback is super strange. Rather than to accept, a better way of doing stuff, I want to stay the way that I am because I don't like having my worldview challenged, So here we go. Sandra Lynn says, wow, wish I had seen a video like this when I started reselling. I have been trying to level up this past year, but following the same plan and ramping up effort. This is exactly what I want for you guys. I want to help everybody level up. I would like to elevate people on this channel. So there are literally not enough hours in the day, and the money do not match the effort. Somebody else's, it's not just me saying this, okay? I'm not brainwashing people to say this. I wouldn't get so many people to agree and eyeballs and subscribers and whatever. It just wouldn't happen if what I'm saying just wasn't true, right? But the problem is that that's not the narrative that's going on YouTube right now. So are we being gaslighted? Is things being gatekeeped? Like what's happening, right? So Rare Gems 119 says, Chris, oh, this is about daily refinement, right? Chris once said that the average time it takes for his listing to sell is 4 months. I think there is just something fundamentally wrong with his listing strategy, probably his pictures and listing info. I don't know. But whatever it is, I mean, the turnover rate of each item that you source 4 months, can you imagine starting off on reselling and then you didn't sell anything for the first 4 months? That's a tough pill to swallow. So wow, this one's also about daily refinement. He was so profitable selling used clothes that he switched into selling courses to make some actual profit. Anybody making $2 to $3 per item on eBay and doing uh, all the listing, shipping, sourcing themselves is earning slightly more than minimum wage. I I suppose so. Look, I don't know how what happens and what people are saying. Because there's a lot of people who are saying like it doesn't work, it's not great. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. There's more people out there who are saying, yeah, it's absolutely great. I'm doing fine. I'm doing wonderful. Those people just don't know what they're talking about. So everybody's on a really big spectrum, right? But the question is, what is happening to most people, right? Of course, there's going to be like a couple of like elite exceptions or whatever. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're lying about. We don't really know, right? Because we're not going to dig into like everybody's life. We're not going to start, doxing people and finding out what's really happening. So the thing is like, I can only go by all these comments that I get and not be dismissive of it, right? So this one is crazy, right? I bought a mystery box from Daily Refinement for $100 that's supposed to be valued at $500 MSRP, but the box ended up having 5 bottles of hand wash and lotions that were being sold on eBay for $10 each. He's not a genuine person. He has created a large business and good job on what he has done, but now he does it. He does it is kind of not cool. Attracted sorry, I'm reading so bad right now. Uninformed new resellers from his YouTube and whatnot to sell them dead stock or items with zero value. Okay, so next one, right? I have been saying for years this guy Daily Refinement is a scam artist. He is making his money from his monthly membership that he sells to newbies in to the reselling business. A lot of new people to his videos don't realize he was kicked off of eBay for selling stolen shoes. He had no documentations on hundreds of thousands of dollars of shoes he had listed and couldn't show where he bought them. He used to buy large pallets of ultra, and it just goes on and on with like some of these scandals and stuff. Again, like I'm just learning this stuff as I've been going through my journey of like, what are you guys doing as far as eBay? Because this is not exactly how I started eBay, right? My first item, I did car seat covers because I have a background in automotive accessories. So I took a gamble on a car seat cover and I ended up going from something like 7 sales every single week. So I sold one every single day and I was super happy about that. I was a very young buck at the time, and we moved slowly from that to 10 a day into finally at the peak it was something like 33 to 35 units every single day. Pegasus only speaks the truth. My advice and learned from my experience: never ever buy any lot of items or mystery boxes with the intent of making money. You are going to get garbage the other person wasn't able to sell. When I first started, I fell into this trap and bought 1 mystery box and 2 boxes of items, right? After all the time sorting, cleaning, photographing, listing, cost of goods, and shipping the few items that did sell, I lost my initial investment on all 3 lot purchases. You will only get bad items. I don't want to say that word. The seller didn't sell or knew were and never bothered listing. So yeah, this is what I'm getting. This is what I'm learning from you guys, right? And this is exactly why my channel exists, okay? Because I want to help you guys out from this. Everybody who feels this way, I'm trying to help you guys out from this, okay? I want to say that recently, see, I challenge the ideas all the time, and I show you guys, I openly challenge the ideas, right? Because the status quo right now is all about the whole, eBay reselling and stuff. So it doesn't matter which YouTuber or creator, I don't care how big their channel is and stuff, I will always challenge their ideas. But recently, I have gotten a pending removal over here because I criticized the auction professor, and he didn't like what I had to say. I promise you that if I said good things, he's not going to, issue a strike, right? And if I could show you guys just a little bit of the comments right here, okay? So you guys know me. When I criticize things, I don't criticize people. I don't hurl like playground, schoolyard kind of insults and stuff like that. I only go by what the person said in the video because it's not fair to say anything else. And I'm not going to go deep dive their whole life, right? That would be weird. That would be stalkerish. So it's just going to be the one video, whatever they said. If I caught contradictions and stuff like that, I pointed out to you guys to let you know that like a lot of this stuff is not rooted in as deep of business acumen as you think it is, because had you been, the outcome and the things that you say would be very different. So he comes back, he's super mad, right? And this comment, honestly, I have no idea what he's talking about, right? I just want to share this with you guys. He goes, "You have no idea what you're talking about. We owned the building and bought the shelves, closed down a Jasa Banks clothing store, all from reselling. I have videos showing all of this. It's very offensive to make these just sort of judgments." I never said anything about the building or the shelves and whatever. So, YouTube's making me take this video down. So, whatever. I'll take this video down because honestly, I'm not just against him, right? I'm not out to get him, all right? I am challenging pretty much anybody who's talking about reselling from the position of a educator, because I think that your ideas, is misaligned, I guess is the best way to put it. And therefore, I want to present my case and then you present your case, so I do the videos on my channel. And if they wanted to debate, then, we could do an open Discord if you want. It's fine with me. So it goes into even more stuff, right? Wrong comments, not knowing anything about me and my business. No model works for everyone. There are so many different models that work, and your way is not the only way. Okay. I wholeheartedly agree with that. All right. A lot of people like to tell me that, hey, Peg, your way is not the only way. Absolutely true. Okay. But what's wild about that is that I'm trying to tell you the same thing, that your way of just doing e-commerce as a reseller is not the only way. And not only is it not the only way, there are much better ways, because your way, even though you claim it's your way, but it's also a very inefficient way. And with all the comments that we just went through, you can see that a lot of people feel this way. Now, he goes on and on about like other stuff. And in my opinion, this whole paragraph of things is a little delulu to me, because I never accused him of any of these things. I don't know what he's trying to justify and what he's trying to prove on this, but I didn't accuse him of any of those things. If anything, in this particular video, right, it's just him saying that, like, end and sold similar works, right? Now, it's not so much about how end and sold similar works. It's just the way that he was presenting it, right? Because he was saying that it works. It definitely 100% works, but I can't say it works for everybody. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So is it, are you teaching people that ESS fundamentally works, or are you just saying that it anecdotally works? But then towards the end of the video, he just starts going into the whole like, well, you got to test everything yourself and find out for yourself. And my argument was like, well, if that's the case, then why are we watching this video? Because if you are the educator here, then we're all here for clarity, right? So later on, I remember he specifically said one line, right, that I thought was particularly funny, which was let me see if I could show you guys over here, right, with what he says. He says in his video, right, that damn, I can't find it. Oh yeah, here we go. He says, just because you take an action doesn't mean the sales that follow are because of that action. So when you say ESS works, I've tested it, definitely test and stuff like that. And then just because you take an action doesn't mean the sales that follow are because of that action. So does ESS work or it doesn't work if you're going to say something like that in the same video, right? So at no time does it even matter, what his zodiac sign is or how he takes his eggs. I don't know why everybody's like all so crazy, like, you don't know him, you don't know what he sells, you don't know what he does, you don't know where he lives, you know, you don't know the size of his shoes. I don't know. I don't see how that's relevant. All I'm pointing out is what he said versus what he said. You know what I mean? And I had some other contradictions as well. But the point is that you can see that on the back end over here, you know, we are being silenced. So pending removal over here, right? And when I click on this and I try to take action, I cannot even fight this. I could only do delete video. So I just wanted to document this thing first, show you guys a little bit about what's going on. Many of you have left your comments, and I will be removing this video in a few days to come. I'm just gonna, you know, leave it on for fun, just for now. Anyways, let me see. As far, I gotta show you, guys, one more thing about this. Whoa, he left me a comment, right? That was just out of this world that I really need to show you guys. Okay, so this one's great, guys. Okay, so he says, you have no idea what you're talking about. Here's the thing. Everybody likes to tell me that I have no idea what I'm talking about without getting into any specifics. That's what it is. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything. You're wrong. And then never gets into what, like, why I'm wrong or whatever. Anyways, we own the building and bought the shelves. No, it's not this one. I'm so sorry, guys. It is not different. Here we go. Everything you are stating is not true. We already filed to have your video removed May 1st, as we could have striked your account immediately, which is absolutely not true, because that's not how it works. He can only do what he did, and that's why he did what he did. When he left me the his first message, he immediately did what he did, even though he said he was only thinking about it. So there was no time to like go back and forth or whatever. He just did it anyways. Either way, you used our content without our permission. I actually don't need your permission, to be honest. It's under fair use. I just don't care to, like, you know, argue with you about it. We only left it up this long so that our lawyer can see it, as you are 100% slandering us openly. I've never said anything personal about the guy, so that's not what slander is. If anything, right, I hurt him more than if I hurled playground insults, to be honest, right? Because if I said something about like the way he looks or whatever, then it probably wouldn't really do anything, and nobody's going to resonate with that message. But if I start saying, well, why'd you say this and this at the same time, that kind of like doesn't add up, right? You're going to say ESS works, but then you're going to say, you know, not everything you do is the result of your actions. Then what? Right? So, and if anything, that would hurt his business more than anything else, and that's what he cares about, and that's why he's so mad at me. So you are clueless. Doesn't tell me why I'm clueless. And using big YouTube resellers for your views for your channel, I will challenge anybody on this, because it is about the principle: stand for something or fall for anything, right? So which we will point out to the others you have wrongly done this to also. You honestly need to educate yourself. Yeah, how? And at least post any factual things as opposed to your wrong personal views. So my response to this is that the factual thing that I'm posting is within the same video, because I am comparing his words to his words. Anyways, so slandering someone for views is illegal in every state of the nation. I agree, but I didn't slander you. And you have given us plenty of proof for your slanderous remarks. Okay. Criticism is one thing, making false statements and trash talking someone is slander. I didn't make false statements and I didn't trash talk you. I questioned your philosophy. Anyways, using my trademark name in your title is also a violation. So basically, you can't type the words auction professor, you know, anywhere anymore, right? I think by this same logic, pretty much every Apple video that has the word Apple in the title has to be taken down by this this kind of thinking. So you know, this is why, you know what I mean. I'm not gonna continue the argument with this guy, because at some point it's just completely silly, especially like, you know, the way he thinks about stuff. Okay, so yeah, I want to show you guys, you know, to prove that like I care about this community and I want to help people out, right? And as far as people being made fun of because, you know, they don't know what they're doing and stuff like that, recently I had a subscriber send me this particular video, right? And this is you know, Isaiah, and he is a 200K reseller, okay? And I just wanted to play this for you just real quick, okay? Because I totally empathize with how he feels.
It would take 11 hours to do that, you know, and I'm trying to figure out is that the best way of using my 11 hours, you know? And even if, you know, I'm sorry for saying, you know, so many times, I'm just stressed, guys. This is the most stressful year I've ever had in my career. This is the hardest year I've ever had in my career. And it's such,
So he was at 200,000 and now he's at 135,000. So this kid, he knows what he's doing, but it's starting to slip, right? And what I'm saying is that, like, this is what happens. The business itself gets more and more difficult to manage. Of course, he goes into, you know, other business ideas and whatever, and I'm very, very happy for him for that, because you're starting to really think like an entrepreneur, right? If anything, I would tell Isaiah that, you know, as frustrating as this is right now, this is actually a very good learning moment, because it made you take a pause and then spend more time in the captain's seat so that you could think about business, period. Not just how to do the reselling business, but he went into like this whole thing about like helping other resellers clean up shoes that they just sourced and stuff like that, so that they could sell right away. So he wanted to have this kind of shoe cleaning service or whatever, which might not be too bad of an idea if you could have, you know, that many different other resellers who are doing sneakers and stuff like that, right? I think it's pretty cool, because if he pivots over to that business, then it's none of his business whether the shoes sell anymore. All he has to do is just provide the service, right? So there's many ways to scale something like that, and it makes a lot more sense. He talked about a little bit about it, like how he's door dashing on the side to try to make his ends meet, you know? So another person that you guys will never make fun of, right? Because Mel is clearly very successful. And I did this video just to show you guys that even the best of you guys struggle.
Going in there today and looking at all the, oh, whew. This is,
wow,
this
that really
wasn't
hit
meant to
her.
be-
Right. So when that happened, she was having a hard time even seeing her warehouse, right? Because of all the work that is waiting for her. You know what I mean? So this is why I do this channel, because there's something wrong with this kind of frustration between the comments, between the videos and stuff like that. Yes, business is difficult, but reselling is particularly difficult because it's being presented to you guys wrong. If anybody keeps on telling you, right, that you don't have to scale up the ticket of your item to remain a flipper, but rather just keep pushing the volume of your items, that's where it gets harder and harder. That's where it's going to get more and more chaotic. So I advocate that you got two choices. If you're going to remain a flipper, then you have to start scaling higher ticket items. If you're going to start, you know, flipping at scale, which is, you know, more and more volume, then you need to start pivoting over to, you know, being a wholesale distributor, right? You have to deal with other wholesale distributors and stuff and start getting bulk replenishable items. This way, you again remove the touch points in your business, and now you are actually streamlining. You won't have this kind of frustration and burnout anymore, because you have consistent sales without having to be physically part of every single transaction. And in the Sunday workshop classes, we're going to discuss exactly how to do that on many different levels. I also wanted to show you guys a particular video over here that we did a long time ago, right? Do you guys remember this? This one was, we designed a full business plan from A to Z for a particular subscriber, right? And I just want to give you guys a little update of that right now, right? So his name is Ray, and he was, you know, doing the whole DTF transfer t-shirts and stuff like that. Okay. And I just want to read this for you guys without, you know, giving away his information and stuff. And he goes, hey, Mason, thanks for checking in on me, because I wanted to see how he was doing. Well, after many times watching your video and outlining it on paper, I have tweaked my plan a little bit. As you have pointed out, and more research on my part, the market for his niche, which is Christian t-shirts in Spanish, is much smaller than I realized. But with that being said, I have not abandoned the idea, but have decided I need one or more different niches. I think I have identified another market, which is a larger market, which is, I'm not going to reveal what he said, But I plan to include this style, but combined with a Christian theme. I did not realize until your help that I'm going to need a lot more designs than I anticipated. Right, that's what I recommended for him because I wanted to show him what his competition was. Right, so this was basically, Pegasus deep dives your niche. Okay, I just want you guys to know that at any time you guys could write to me and you could go to my channel. Right, how do we go to my channel from here? Like this, your channel, right? And you guys can come over here.
There are
where
tons
it's shut up, Pegasus. Anyways, you guys can come over here, right? And then you scroll down, and then where it says view email address over here, you could just click that you are not a robot, etc., and then it'll show you my email over here, right? And if you have any business ideas that you want to discuss with me, and I'll help you out. You know what I mean? If you have any questions about pivoting, or it could be as simple as how do you recommend I do my listings? If you want to show me one of your listings, and then I'll help you out with that. So this one was a whole business idea, A to B, like framework, right? I put a A to Z plan over here. So he says, right, that which I'm doing now and coming up with more designs. And then he subscribed to a couple of subscription services, which I hope that works out for him. Normally, I don't like to tell people to spend money, right? I don't want you to spend money unless it's absolutely necessary, unless it's really, really helpful. Then try your best to not have to spend money. If you have to do a website or something like that, right, and you really want to save money doing the website, then I definitely tell you to learn how to do WordPress. Don't just jump into Shopify, because Shopify is very cheap to set up, but all the plugins, they really start to add up, and then your monthly becomes heavier than you think, because they sell you all the plugins as a monthly subscription service, and that is the worst. So if you have like a ton of plugins, that's like having Netflix and Hulu and Paramount, and it really adds up. So along with that, I think the plan to move forward is to test to see if any of the designs will sell. I think the most cost-efficient way is to use something like a print-on-demand service, and then printing and fulfilling orders for me on, Etsy and eBay. Once I start to identify what sells, then I'm going to switch to myself to be the fulfiller, and I want to do my own website with Shopify, right? So I will know. I know that I will have to drive the traffic to my own website, but like you said, that's going to need social media in order to do that. So I cover that all in this particular video. Now, the reason to have my own website, this is very entrepreneurial thinking, is that my buyers on eBay or Etsy are not my customers. They are the platform's customers. I want to be able to market to them using email and having more overall control of the marketing platforms, if that makes any sense, right? That makes perfect sense. Also, once identifying what sells, I can use the Printify for expanding my product line to other items as well, right? So he wraps it up by saying, I would not have come up with this plan if not listening to you. Anyways, that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. I've written everything down on a piece of paper, and I'll let you know as my progress goes on. So he's doing all that stuff, and I replied to him that if I could recommend something for him, right, I was going to think that, pets is a really good thing that people would like to have custom products of, right? And what I mean by that is, I think if we're going to be doing more sentimental things, I found a video on TikTok where this guy was doing a business where, it's they were doing embroideries after they digitize what your pet looks like. So it could be like in memory of and stuff like that. So as far as the DTF or whatever, right, the digital transfer stuff, I decided to create this thing for him, right, just to give him an idea of what I'm talking about. So this is the before and after. So this is the before of like, some dude with his pet bunny and stuff like that, right? And then over here, I created this, right, which is using AI to digitize his pet, right? So this is what his pet looked like: white bunny, blue eyes, long ears, and stuff like that, pink nose, and here you go, right? And then he wanted to go with the Spanish theme and stuff, so I got, te fuiste, pero tu amor queda, right? Which basically means, you left, but your love remains. So it's very emotional and stuff. This is just a rough design. I only know how to do, YouTube thumbnails and like other stuff like that. So this is not the proper, layout. You probably want more of a 9:16, as well as calculate how you want to bleed the rest of the colors into the rest of the shirt or the hoodie or something like that. But I just wanted you guys to see, like, when it comes to brainstorming ideas, concepts, providing services and stuff like that, this is kind of sort of what I do. You know what I mean? We come up with different business ideas because I've done a lot of different types of business. So to tell me to create a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I can help you out. Anyways, so here's something that I wanted to show you guys, that I really wanted to share with you guys. Okay. So when you think about, what I'm talking about with, the YouTube space and the eBay and whatever, and why people like me are not being represented, I just want to show you somebody who is just like me. Okay. This is Reinventing Glamour, right? I sub to her channel and I watch her channel every now and then. And I just wanted to show you basically, like, what one of her videos looks like over here, right?
So
and,
actually, yeah, we can look at.
So let me see if we got something that shows her background. There we go. See, this is all her stuff. Okay. This is what she sells, right? And it's like purses, handbags mostly, and other glam kind of things. This is her store. All right. And this is her Shopify store. See, this is what I want for you guys, right? To have something like this to pivot over to, because this kind of business is manageable. Okay. And with her following on YouTube, right, which is, it's decent. She's got 16,000 followers and stuff like that. She gets plenty of orders, enough for her to handle to do something like this. And this business easily can scale. Now, she also has a channel. No, sorry. This was one of her videos over here. And I just wanted you to see a little bit of what she has to say, right? So this was about Trump's new tariff, et cetera, et cetera. I know there's quite many of you that want me to talk about tariffs, and I'm going to kind of sort of do that right now, okay? So this is her watching a video of this Korean chick who's also an entrepreneur, okay? And I just want you to hear what they have to say, because it's kind of important.
This lady right here, I didn't even watch it, but that's why I'm like reacting to these, because I haven't watched any of them. But Trump's new tariff almost cost her $24,000.
Yesterday, I thought I was going to have to pay $24,000 extra because of the tariffs that Donald Trump announced. I'm launching a Korean beauty brand, and my inventory is shipping from Korea right now. When I saw the news about the 35% tariffs on all cosmetics,
so it's 35% tariff tax on all cosmetics. Whoa, that's why I said, like, it really depends.
Okay, so her business, right, is basically a business that I explained to you guys once upon a time, right? Which is basically the idea of sourcing things from websites such as Shein or Temu first, right? It's not going to be great profit margins, but it's still going to be a lot cheaper than if you were to just get it anywhere else yourself, okay? And sourcing from there first with a small bulk amount, whether it was 5 handbags for her or, 10 cell phone cases, stuff, right, that you think is going to sell. Now, what happens is that we're going to test that out first. And then once we have a winning item that, using very, very small bulk sourcing, right, using Temu and stuff like that, then we switch over to Alibaba. So she is just getting into kind of sort of white labeling and importing. So I'm super happy for her, and she's figuring it out as she goes along. So if you guys want to, right, you can subscribe to Reinventing Glamour and just follow her for her story. And that's, again, I keep saying it, this is what I really want for you guys. Reselling is important because everybody has to start off somewhere, but we want to get to a place where you can start advertising, you can start pushing your own traffic, you can start having a following, you could have steady sales. That's what you guys are really lacking, the steady sales, without worrying about like, I got to source more, I got to do this, I got to do that, right? Because once you have staple items, you can have steady sales. That's what's very, very important. So in this particular video earlier, she said like, oh my God, it's, 35% tariffs from for cosmetics. I didn't know that. So I actually left my first and only post on her channel over here. And I want to read this to you guys because I think it's really worth a listen of what I had to say. So here we go. I told her, right, I watched some of your stuff. You're very new to importing, white labeling, custom labeling. So I'll explain a few things to you. It's not 35% on cosmetics. it's 35% on Korea. Okay. She was freaking out because that rate from where she imports, if you import from China, the current rate structure is like this: 125% reciprocal tariffs, 20% tariff addressing the fentanyl crisis, and then a Section 301, all that stuff. So ultimately, it could be 245% for China, right? Now, I also wanted to say that the reason why I kind of didn't want to speak of this, because my feelings at the time, I know hindsight is a little bit 2020, but my feelings about it is that both sides were kind of sort of posturing on this, right? Well, I'm going to go to, 100%. Well, I'm 200%, 300%. And we're all in the middle like, okay, let's just wait for this to play out, right? Because it's absurd what is happening. Eventually, enough people are going to be crying about it on both sides, whether you're a small business or a large corporation. Now, one thing that I really don't want to talk about, right? I know people will be wondering is like, maybe like how I feel about Trump and stuff. The only thing I can tell you is Trump is definitely, the most trending president we've had ever. Like that guy is just always trending. So I wanted her to know, right, that you should know that also how the problem is that we don't make anything here in America, right? Items like plastic, silicone, and other molded things require tooling. And what that means is a special engineer to create CAD designs, computer aided designs that will CNC blocks of aluminum, right, to heat press out the shapes to make the products. So, whether it's acetate or silicone or something like that, there's a mold that needs to be created, right? And in order to produce 1,000 pieces, 10,000 pieces, we have to make many copies of that mold. That way we could do 10 molds, 20 molds, 100 molds at a time so that we speed up the production process. So most of the stuff you sell are not plastic. It's acetate, like brush handles, banana clips, combs, because that's what she sells. So I just wanted to try to speak her language. Again, requires tooling, and long story short, we don't have those people here who can do that. It takes a special engineer to do all that CAD, CNC, whatever, that you create these CNC blocks that is specifically made for factory production. Okay, there's plenty of Americans here who could do CAD design and CNC or whatever, right? There's not many people who could do it for factory production. That is the sad truth, okay? We outsourced all the production in this country for way too long that we've forgotten how to do it. That's the problem. So now we really have to renegotiate the tariffs and things like that. And as for the date of this video, you know what I mean? Recently, last night, let me put this to the camera. Trump has backed down on the tariffs, actually. And this is honestly kind of sort of what I predicted, right? It's just posturing in the beginning, and they're going to go through like a week or two of it, and then it's going to start coming back down. Of course, now it's the 20th something, so it went on for 3 weeks longer than I thought it was going to go for. But so the big problem is that while the U.S. needed to do something, anything to fix the deficit, we won't have a country. This move is a bit tough because it's not like the neighboring countries, India, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Pakistan, are equipped to take over from China either. That is the real truth. A lot of clothing and sewn items or whatever can be done in Pakistan and Bangladesh and India, whatever. But when it comes to all the things that require tooling, I will teach you guys a lot more in our shop classes when we go into private labeling and some white labeling, maybe when it comes to the tooling process, right? Because that's basically what the factory is always going to tell you when something requires custom molds in order to produce the shapes that you need. It requires tooling. I know it's a very strange word because it's such a simplistic word, but it's really not what people think it means normally. Okay, so because the ugly truth is whether or not we should bring back the ugly truth isn't whether or not we should bring back manufacturing to the States, but what steps should have been taken first, right? Because you want to have all your bases covered before you try to bully and leverage each other. You know what I mean? You don't want to just be like, oh, well, you got to make a deal with me when, you're not really holding the cards that you need to be holding. So I definitely think the combination of tariffs plus the incentives to invest in US production is the right move. Because what you want to do, right, is that you want to tariff them over there, right? Which is a mean thing to do. And then you want to incentivize them over here because that way you provide that guided path, right? And that's what forces overseas factories to create a factory over here and thus creating jobs, et cetera, and then everybody's happy. So the problem is the pain in the meantime, because this doesn't happen overnight, So, but Trump hasn't incentivized anyone from China, and that is the real mistake. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. In the 1970s, a huge investment from the U.S. to Taiwan, and Taiwan flourished. Before made in China was even a thing, right? The slogan was, "It's very well made in Taiwan first." That was literally the motto. China in the early 90s began to poach Taiwanese factory owners. I would know. I am Taiwanese, and my father-in-law was one of these factory owners. So the deal was, come to China and I'll give you 15 years no tax. And plus, China land was cheap and factories could expand there. The average factory in China is about 1,000 hours, 1,000 workers. I spelled this wrong. And they work 3 shifts, so it's producing 24 hours. So there's 1,000 people at this factory, right? With a couple of people in the cafeteria. They have their own cafeteria and stuff. They even have their own dormitories because people, they sleep there. So they work 8-hour shifts, right? There are 3 shifts of 8 hours, right? And then they just rotate like that. That way the factory is just going 24 hours. That's how a China factory works. So the only companies that stayed in Taiwan was the tech companies, right? So NEC, Motorola, Taiwan SEM, or TSMC. TSMC is the Taiwan Semiconductor company, right? So they make like all the chips and stuff like that. So, I'm a 20+ year importer, custom labeler. My niche is automotive accessories. I talk about this on my channel too, how to deal with Alibaba, etc., stuff like that. And I actually got 2 thumbs up since I posted this about 4 days ago, actually. Anyways, so when it comes to, dealing with this stuff and then having your own products and whatnot, I actually want to show you guys a couple of comments over here, right? Sorry, I really have to get this one out of the way. So, this one's a pushback comment that I wanted to share with you guys, right? It goes, the fact that there are many, myself included, that make a good living selling these low STR items is enough proof that you're wrong. Is it the easiest or best way to run the business? Probably not. Does it mean that it can't be a viable option? Okay, this comment I'm actually revisiting, okay? And the thing is this, let's define what it means to make a good living. Now, before we talk about, business or whatever, let's just talk about having a job first. What is a job that you could define as making a good living? I would say it would be the equivalent of you make everything that you need and then some, because that way you could invest it into what? I don't know, Roth IRAs, your 401k, your, different kinds of retirement things. Even if you had no idea what to do with the money, you can at least put it in a high yield savings account or stick it in the S&P for the next 20 years. Something, anything, right? So the point is you're supposed to make whatever you need. So if you have a household income, depending on wherever you are, right? Like you need, $6,000, $7,000 a month because you have kids and you have maybe an elderly person in your home or something like that. You probably need that much. And then you want to have some to save up beyond that, right? So then what do you need? You want to have, if you need 7,000, you probably want to have a good 9,000, because then you could keep putting $2,000 away. And then, that's your rainy day money, that's your retirement money, that's your investment money, whatever you want to do with that, right? So if we had to translate that over to a business, then it needs to do the exact same thing. You don't want to work a job living paycheck to paycheck, and you don't want to work a business doing paycheck to paycheck. So when you talk about making a good living, that's what I want for you guys in order to make a good living and have something to reinvest in. So if you only need, something like you've be able to keep your expenses like tight and under control, right? So you're able to keep it at 4,000, 5,000, something like that. If you live, more towards the Midwest and money goes a lot further over there, that's good too. So that, you could make another $2,000 or $3,000 on top of that, so that you could keep reinvesting into developing other products and things and growing your business and having, you know, real growth, right? So there was one comment over here that I promised that I would answer in a video, right? And it's over here, okay? It comes to us from Peppy the Eki, okay? It's a fun name. I have a replenishable product that I buy from China. I found out that it cost me the same shipping cost by boat to order 500 pieces and 2,000 pieces. So I ordered 2,000 pieces, but I need to order 2,000 pieces in order for my profit margin to be good enough. Are my profit margins too low? I'll like to order smaller quantities, but the shipping cost cuts into my margins too much. It usually sells within 12 months when I order 2,000 pieces. Okay, so the answer to this, obviously, right, is not specifically a whole margin thing, but you are selling stuff too slow. We have to increase the velocity of what you're selling. Lucky for you, this is a replenishable product. So what is the answer? I would say the answer is to put it on more platforms, right? Right now, we are only talking about eBay. We're going to skip ahead just for Peppy the Eki and to just go directly into Amazon, right? You need to start putting your item on Amazon because that's the only way you could start doing like large quantities of an item and yet at the same time not really have to hire in the beginning, because it's not just about hiring people. When you hire people, you have more people to deal with as well, so it adds an extra element, you know, it adds another layer of difficulty. So if we could keep it at a one-man operation, that would be best. I recommend this guy, Crescent Cow. Okay, Crescent Cow is a entrepreneur, Amazon seller, YouTuber, mentor, right? So he's kind of sort of like me, right? Except he's way more heavily focused into Amazon than anything else. Again, I restarted this channel and I'm just right here talking about eBay first because eBay is the starting point. But eventually I'm going to, you've some of you guys already seen that I'm starting to do a little bit more Etsy content. And then from there, we will get into more, Amazon stuff, because ultimately Amazon is 60 times bigger in sales than what eBay is. This is where all the customers actually is. But the problem is that as you're just a reseller for now, it's very difficult to even do eBay, let alone Amazon. But once you have that replenishable product, I don't know what Peppy the Eki's product is, right? But it doesn't matter. He has the choice to go ahead and put it on eBay, Etsy, if applicable, Walmart, and Amazon. So what I recommend about Crescent Cow, right, is that he's very good at teaching the PPC campaign. And that's what really matters the most. When you think about how to do business on Amazon, period, right? Okay, look, if you go Amazon FBA, all your customer service, shipping and packing and stuff like that, that's handled for you. If you are dealing with overseas, import, whatever the quantity that you need to order and then deliver directly to Amazon, that's all done for you. So what do you do as an Amazon seller? Basically, you just operate a dashboard. That's all you do. You wake up every day, I'm sit here, I'm just going to operate a dashboard, because all the orders and whatever is just all outsourced, right? This is one of the best businesses because all of the touch points, all of the everything is removed from you. So if you have a problem sitting in front of a computer for 2 hours a day, operating just a dashboard, looking at your PPC campaigns, adjusting it, playing with some keywords and whatever, then I can't help you. Anything is going to burn you out. Okay. So your business is so much more simplified, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to spend a lot of time to establish the foundation first. But once you have established the foundation, the day-to-day operation gets easier and easier. And that is a very, very rewarding feeling, because when you first start a business, you're ready. You're ready to fight, right? So you get into the trenches, you dig and whatever. The burnout comes when you're just like, oh, how much longer? Because I've been doing this for quite a while, right? While when you are doing, exactly what I'm talking about, where you level up to level 3, level 4, level 5 and stuff like that, and you have your own replenishable product to go ahead and put on all of the, much larger platforms, the workload is completely different. You know what I mean? To the point where it's going to, like, once you've made it, it's going to feel like a get rich quick scheme, but it's not, because you had to pay your dues at the front door before you got into this club. So Crescent Cow, I think you guys should watch his stuff. I know it's very advanced for what you are doing right now, but when it comes to learning more specifically about PPC, because PPC is all that's really, really important, okay? On this channel, I teach business structure, right? How to be a visionary, how to think about your business, innovate products, research that needs to go into the marketplace, understanding the marketplace, spotting gap items, right? Predicting market shifts and stuff. That's what I do, right? He is very specific on, you know, manipulating Amazon, and eventually you're going to get there too. So as far as just specifically talking about the PPC on Amazon and stuff like that, I also know how to do the PPC. So if you want to see me about it, that's fine. But as far as, you know, you just want to hear somebody talk overall, then he's a better spokesperson than I am, and he definitely pays for you know, the video editing. So yeah, pretty good videos, Crescent Cow. I kind of recommend this guy as opposed to all of the other Amazon people, right? And the reason is because his method of talking about how to do the PPC campaign is just as methodical as mine. Spreadsheets, how to do this, you know, like a lot of bases covered, like all at the same time. So definitely want to sit down with a coffee and a croissant when you watch Crescent Cow. All right, so let me see. Is there anything else that I haven't covered over here? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. I think we're going to wrap up this particular episode. So now you guys know exactly the background, why we do this channel, what we're trying to help people out with, why I challenge the status quo the way that I do, right? Because ultimately, you know, all of you guys out there who have resonated specifically with my message have felt it, right? There are some kind of bottlenecks, some kind of inconsistency, some kind of inefficiency with what we're currently doing right now. And there's this huge echo chamber that just keeps on telling you, you got to push through, you got to fight harder. You know, it's not supposed to be easy. Easy money's no good. Good money's no, you know, it's nuts what's happening. Okay. And your feelings are absolutely valid. And I'm here to tell you guys, do not ignore those feelings. Okay. Anyways, guys, that is the video. If you enjoyed that, please give it a like. And if you learned something, please consider subscribing. As always, I'll see you guys in the next. Take care.